Watching the Republican primary debates can feel like a study in self-sabotage.
Her donors, these Wall Street liberal donors, they make money in China. They are not going to let her be tough on China, and she will cave to the donors. She will not stand up for you.
15 seconds.
In the latest one, which Trump skipped again, the other candidates spent most of their time attacking each other.
Well, he's mad because those Wall Street donors used to support him, and now they support me.
Not the guy who's 50 points ahead.
He has a company, a Chinese company, UGAS, that he just did a rally there last year. They have given you $340,000 in campaign donations.
But there's a certain kind of logic to it. Candidates are trying to position themselves as the party's alternative to Trump. And to do that, they have to push each other aside and coalesce the roughly 40% of Republicans who don't know what they want or who want to nominate a candidate who is not Donald Trump. And with the Iowa caucuses and New Hampshire primary now just around the corner, time is running out to make that happen, which puts real pressure on the two candidates who are closest to Trump's lead: Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley. I wanted to check in with the Republicans who support these non-Trump options in the states where their votes could matter the most. What's stopping the anti-Trump coalition from getting on the same page? And is it too late? From the New York Times, I'm Ested Herndon. This is The Run-Up.
Can you describe the pin you're wearing?
Oh, this is from the second debate. This is the memorial, or what do they call it? Commemorative pin from Nikki's second debate.
Last Wednesday, my colleague Anna and I went up to Bedford, New Hampshire.
And you wear it all the time? Is it just like your...
I put it onto different coats, and I have this one on here. You know, sometimes...
Can you read that one for us?
NH loves NH. New Hampshire loves Nikki Haley.
The Nikki Haley campaign was hosting a debate watch party at a local pub. And while campaigns often hold events like this one felt particularly notable. Haley's debate performances have been winning her praise in the media and momentum with parts of the GOP establishment. She's attracted new donors, and a recent endorsement from the campaign arm of Americans for Prosperity, the conservative political group founded by the billionaire Koch brothers. Just this week, she got the backing of New Hampshire Governor Chris Sununu, an important Republican voice in the state. And so, I wanted to check in with Haley supporters in New Hampshire specifically, because in addition to the governor's endorsement, a new primary poll from CNN showed Haley had climbed to 20% in the state, putting her second to Trump, who in that poll sat at 42%. So there were signs that Haley's message was resonating with some in the electorate here, at least among the Republicans who don't want Trump. Can you tell me your name and...
Helene.
We met Helene and her pin collection after the debate had finished. Are you a New Hampshire resident?
Yes. I've been, in New Hampshire for 50 years.
You've seen a lot of these kind of Republican cycles come and go here in this state. When this primary was starting, did you know who you were going to support from the start?
I had been following Nikki since she was ambassador. I was very impressed with her when she was ambassador. So yes, I did, right at the beginning.
That was your candidate kind of from the jump.
Yes, it was, yeah.
I guess I'm curious kind of who you've supported previously. In 2016,
2016 would have been Trump, yeah. Yes, I did. Initially, I had supported Carly Fiorina, and then I moved over to...
I'm curious, what moved you over to Trump, you think?
Well, Carly dropped out pretty quickly, and, I started listening to Trump, and actually I kind of got a kick out of him. I thought he was a riot to listen to back then, and, he was saying the right things, and then he was the candidate, so I did, support him.
Did you vote for him in 2020, too?
Yes, I did.
Clearly, he's still in this race. What? You kind of roll your... I'm interested in, what makes you support him as president and coming into 2016, but not be supportive of him now?
I'm disappointed in his behavior. It's basically that. And I just think Nikki Haley is more electable. I think there are so many people that hate Trump. I think Nikki can bring in, suburban women. I think she can bring in a lot more people. I even have, independent and Democratic friends who like her, or people that'll see me wearing my pin and they say, "Oh, I like her." I have a lot of people who are saying that. And even, Democrats, lifelong Democrats have been saying to me, I've been a lifelong Democrat, but I do like her.
You think if she was the nominee, it would bring in a different group of people?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Of course, the difficulty is that there's a big gap right now between where she is and where Trump is. Mm-hmm.
True, but maybe if the field narrows.
That's what I keep hearing about tonight.
I'm hoping. That's what I am hoping.
I know that for a lot of people, they're hoping that it can get down to her versus Trump, and then you all think that there's a better chance there. Okay, that's what the hope is in this room.
That's what my hope is, yes.
Of course, that requires, the candidates we saw on stage tonight to get out the race, not only Christie, but Ramaswamy and Ron DeSantis. When you think about someone like Ron DeSantis, what did you think of him when he was coming into this race? Because he was also someone who was offering a not Trump option.
True. I just never really was real thrilled with DeSantis. I don't want to say anything really bad about him, but he doesn't thrill me. Mm-hmm. And I think Vivek is just, he shouldn't be on stage. Mm-hmm. And I think he gets way too much time. And I think the moderators tonight let the debate get very out of control. Mm-hmm. I was disappointed in them.
How would you define your priorities, though, for the next nominee? Is stopping Trump more important, even if it takes a Ron DeSantis or someone else like that?
I do think we need a Republican in the office. So whoever the Republican nominee is, I think that's the most important thing.
Even if it's Donald Trump.
Even if it's Donald Trump. I think Biden is just a very weak president. I think we need to be able to produce things in the United States. We've got to produce our energy here. We have to produce our own products. I don't want to be dependent on foreign oil. I don't want to be dependent on other countries for our pharmaceuticals, for anything.
If I hear you're saying, now while you don't love Trump in this kind of primary context, your priorities of stopping Biden and Democrats would bring you back to voting for him if he was the nominee.
Correct.
But how would you feel about that vote, separate from that?
I wouldn't be as thrilled. I am very, very excited about Nikki Haley. I mean, I'm older. I won't tell you exactly how old I am. You might be able to guess since I told you I was from Massachusetts originally, went to college here, and I've been here for 50 years. So you can guess how old I am. But I've never been as excited about a candidate as I have about Nikki. I listen to her when I listen to her in person. It's she not only tells you everything that's wrong, but she tells you in a very concise, logical way what she's going to do about it. I just think she would be a tremendous president.
What do you expect to happen in this race? How confident are you that she can kind of make a path to the nomination?
I'm nervous about it. It really will depend on if some of the others will drop out. And I suppose it will depend on how all the court cases go with Trump. If he is actually convicted of a felony, I think she would win the nomination. Because I think she is the most electable person.
You think that the conviction of Trump might do something that the indictments didn't do and have some people and help someone else get up there? Because he was indicted and it didn't seem to change all that much.
No, I think because people feel like he was wronged. And I'm not going to say anything one way or the other on that. But that's why a lot of people still support him. They do feel that he was wronged. So, yeah, I think a conviction, wouldn't it have to if he's convicted of a felony? Would he be able to run? I don't think he would.
I actually recently looked this up. He's still allowed to run. He might not be able to vote for himself, but he could definitely still.
Oh, okay.
Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it so much.
So I'm curious about the fancy.
We work for the New York Times. We work for the Times Politics Podcast. Yeah, and so my name's Instead.
What is it?
When we walked up to the bar, we started talking to Nikki and Jason Sank. I'm from the south suburbs of Chicago. You from Chicago?
I'm from Aurora.
Okay, cool. We'll take you. We claim you. What brought you from, if you mind me asking, what brought you from Illinois to?
My husband worked for the DMV back in Illinois. And after 3 years of no budget, we had friends that were like, you know what, if you come out here, then we'll help you get back on your feet. And it was tough for the first 4 months, and we've never looked back. Back in 2017.
2017, okay. Do you consider yourself a Democrat or a Republican?
I consider myself a Republican.
Yeah. Have you always been a Republican?
No.
When did that change for you?
Moving here. Back in Illinois, he had a state job. We were making about 60 grand. We had a house. Oh God, I think we bought it for 112,000. We were making bills, and we move out here, and there's no income tax. There's no sales tax. You have a lot less taxes, and it makes a lot more sense. You have a lot more freedoms than you do back in Illinois, which is a heavily Democratic state, or at least up in the big cities where I grew up. And it's like, wait a minute. I have a lot better life when a Republican is running things versus a Democrat. I mean, that's kind of a no-brainer.
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of it was just change in life, and I think a lot of it was the left has changed so much. They have gone from being reasonable and talking to people to just far extreme. I mean, when you've got them calling guys like Elon Musk, Joe Rogan as white supremacists and far right, and no, that's not what we're for. We want freedom. We want opportunities to do and make our own destiny. And anymore, from what we see from the left, it's gone from, gay rights to our kids have to learn about LGBTQIA in the schools. And, for 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, I don't think that's appropriate, It
was more of you think how the left changed that pushed you to the Republican Party?
The left has changed, and a lot of that is the more I look at things, the more facts I see, the numbers don't add up with a lot of stuff, and I find myself more agreeing and understanding the conservative arguments,
Tell me why you like Nikki Haley.
I love Nikki Haley. We're actually delegates. We're alternative delegates for Nikki Haley. Okay. One of the big things I like about her is she was an accountant. She is not didn't start off as a career politician. She's very big on transparency for the government. And I think that's one of the biggest things we're really missing. We have so much corruption because no one's held accountable. You can't see what's going on, So
when you think about the reasons you're supporting Nikki Haley, are they mostly economic and kind of a accounting background? How would you put your priorities to what leads you to support her?
All over, honestly. I think she's very well-rounded. She took the kick me off sign off of us when she was in the UN. She worked very well with that. She's a strong supporter of Israel. Walk, yeah.
She's like, hey, look, I took South Carolina, and we flipped a lot of the economic issues. We worked with the other side, so it's not just one hardcore one. She has a proven track record. It's not just open promises. It's not just, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Well, show me.
Tonight on the stage, there's only 3 other people, right? Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, Chris Christie. When you think about, did you think about any of those other options?
I was a big DeSantis guy. You were a big DeSantis. I loved what he did in Florida. I loved the bills that he was passing. I loved how he stood up to the media and stuff. But when it came to his performance in the debates, that first debate really turned me off because he just felt like he was scripted, as if he's listening to somebody else saying, no, you need to be more aggressive. And it felt fake. It felt like a performance. And it didn't feel genuine with him.
Did you think about any of the other candidates, or was it always Nikki Haley for you?
I think Vivek a little bit. I like what he had, but he's the same thing with DeSantis. It's too scripted.
The person we haven't mentioned, and who's not on that stage, of course, Donald Trump. I'm curious what you all think about him.
There's too much garbage, too much. He's a bull in a china shop. There's just too much collateral damage with him. He did good, yes, but at what cost? And I think Officer Brandon Tatum said it best on the Candace Owens show. Trump broke the dam. He was a sledgehammer. He showed us the corruption. He showed us what's wrong with the swamp. Now we need something more precise. We need something more with more finesse, more skill. We need a surgeon. We need a scalpel, not a sledgehammer.
Haley has gotten a lot of plaudits for her performances in the debate, but there's still a big gap, polling and other things would tell us between where she is and where Donald Trump is. Have you all thought about, what would happen if Trump is the nominee? Would you be comfortable with voting for him again?
Yeah, I would be comfortable with voting for Trump. I'm going to vote for whoever the Republican nominee is. At this point, There is no voting for Democrat for me. What
So,
they believe.
I guess I want to clarify. It doesn't sound like you all think you will be motivated to kind of stop Trump as like Republican primary. You want to vote for Nikki Haley. You think she's the best option, but it doesn't seem like stopping Trump is a priority.
I would like to stop Trump. It would be nice, but realistically, who knows? And, it's going to be what it's going to be. There's so much going on right now with Trump and all the court cases. It's a crapshoot. We don't know what the future holds.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you.
Ested, nice to meet you. Ested. Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Ested.
Francine.
Nice to meet you. Next to Nikki and Jason, we met Francine and Pete Brown. Tell me where you're from in New Hampshire.
Amherst. Yeah, it's like 5 miles down the road.
Been in New Hampshire. Have you been doing this cycle for?
We've been here for probably 23 years.
So you know how it goes. But the candidates come in. Do you have like a process of how you make a decision? How do you all usually go about this?
So I'm an independent, very much Republican-leaning independent, but an independent nonetheless. But we're really just looking for candidates that share values like ours, so.
Who'd you support in 2016?
I'll tell you, but I'm ashamed to admit it at this point, I supported Trump.
Well, I'm curious, why is that now a shameful fact for you?
Just because when I look at what he did in the transition in the last election, I just find it entirely despicable.
So you're saying, was it January 6th that lost you for him?
It was everything associated, leading up to the election, what transpired between the election and January 6th. And then January 6th was like, nails in coffins, right? I mean, it was just horrendous. But no, so actually, I voted for Biden in 2020. Yep, because I could not bring myself to vote for Trump. Much like I could not bring myself to vote for Hillary Clinton in 2016. So, I guess it's disappointing, but I voted against Hillary Clinton in 2016, and I voted against Trump in 2020.
Are y'all here for Nikki Haley specifically?
So we're trying to figure out. I think we're both kind of fans of Chris Christie and Nikki Haley.
Okay.
We both wish Chris was doing a little better than he is, but Nikki Haley seems to be kind of running away with things, which is fine. And if I could talk to either one of them, I'd say, hey, why don't you guys pair up, right? Because if they could take Chris's votes and Nikki Haley's votes, whether Nikki's the president and Chris is the vice president, and I don't even know if that's legal. I don't know if you can't declare a vice president until.
I'd like them to get on the same page.
It'd be awesome. Yeah, if they were part of the same team and you could pool their votes.
If you could think about your priorities for this primary, like what are you most looking for from a Republican nominee?
At this point, given what's going on in the world, I'd say national security. That's kind of it.
It is. I'm guessing Haley with the UN history, with some of that, it speaks to that?
So she seems sane, and the UN history.
What about Governor DeSantis? I'm thinking about the non-Trump candidates in this race. He's someone who, like Nikki Haley, has a slice of a part of the party. Would you be interested in someone like that?
So I think the one thing that DeSantis said that really, for me, discounted his credibility was claiming that Ukraine was a regional conflict. It's like, wow, here's a guy who really, really does not understand global issues. So I thought, maybe he'll be great in 4 years, 8 years, 12 years, but I can't deal with somebody that thinks Ukraine is a regional conflict at this point.
I guess one question I have, though, is Haley supporters and DeSantis supporters kind of have to join together if Donald Trump is not going to be the nominee. Is any of you kind of worried that this splintering of the non-Trump folks just leads to him coming back?
It terrifies me. It does, and that's why I said, geez, if we could get Nikki with Chris Christie as a vice president and pool their votes, maybe it gets us there. I can't see Nikki and Ron DeSantis. I can't see Nikki and.
I guess why not?
They seem too different. Nikki and Chris don't seem all that different. Their beliefs seem pretty well aligned, but maybe I'm not giving Ron DeSantis enough runway.
So are you also someone who's thinking about Nikki Haley as your kind of number one right now?
Yes, and I think, we were fortunate that we got to meet both Nikki Haley and Chris Christie at town hall type meetings. And I think we really like what both of them had to say. I'm terrified. I do not want Trump in office again.
I also want to ask about Ron DeSantis, partially because when we look at our numbers as like kind of political reporting, there's a clear like kind of 40-ish% of the Republican Party who doesn't want Donald Trump and says this over and over and over. But they're split between all of these type of people. As someone who likes Haley, who likes Christie, could you see, if it took Ron DeSantis to stop Trump, would you be comfortable with that?
Wow. There's just something about DeSantis inherently that I just don't like. I don't like Trump, but DeSantis is not that far behind.
Finally, we talked to Edward Molyneux. This is Anna. We make our politics podcast, The Run Up, and we're here talking to Nikki Haley supporters about both debate and the primary at large. You got 5-10 minutes? Maybe we can chat?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Are you from New Hampshire?
I'm from Connecticut, actually. Yeah.
Oh, did you come up for this?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Now, so have you a Republican?
I'm an independent.
You're an independent. Okay. So I'm seeing you. So you picked Nikki Haley and kind of this. Tell me how you kind of came to support her.
Basically, I think it's one of the, I'm 71, so I've seen a lot of elections. I think this is the most important election that we've had in my lifetime. And the reason is because I see Nikki Haley as the only person who's standing between a contest between Trump and Biden. And I think Trump or Biden would be disastrous for this country. And so I can't just stand. I mean, I'm looking at this happen. I'm seeing this happen. Everybody's saying it's going to be Trump versus Biden. And I'm saying to myself, I can't stand around and do nothing. I have to be able to do something. If I can do anything at all, I am going to put my hat in the ring and try.
Governor Ron DeSantis would have said that he was the person who could have stopped that matchup, at least starting at the beginning of the year. Was that someone you were ever interested in?
No. Because, first of all, DeSantis, I'm a middle of the road guy, right? Okay. DeSantis is trying to run right of Trump. So what is a middle of the road guy going to think about somebody who's running right of Trump? I had no concern. I didn't want him at all.
Haley has had a rise in the last couple months, but there's still a big gap between where the numbers would tell us she is and where Donald Trump is. It kind of seems as if the Haleys, the DeSantises, all of those folks kind of have to be maybe coalesce to kind of overtake Donald Trump. Is there any nervousness from your part that the anti-Trump Republicans have been split between these other ones and are kind of helping him, become the next nominee?
I mean, the only way any of these candidates has a chance against Trump is that there's four left, three of them have to drop out. I think clearly Christie does not have enough support to go on. And Ramaswamy doesn't have enough support to go on. And so it's DeSantis or it's Haley. Now, it would be nice if DeSantis would say, okay, great, I don't like Trump. I'm going to drop out, throw my support to Haley. But I have no control over that. I mean, the only control I have over that is to do what I'm doing here now. Go to these events. I'm going to go out this weekend. I'm going to go door to door, and every weekend now to the primary, I'm going to go door to door and ask people to vote for Nikki. We need somebody to unite this.
If Haley was to make a move, that probably needs to start happening.
Exactly.
What should I be looking for? Like, what are the signs that type of coalescing is possible? I mean, is it just if everyone else drops out?
Basically, what has to happen is that Haley has to do good in Iowa, and do good in New Hampshire. And then, maybe DeSantis at that point, he comes in third, let's say. You got South Carolina coming up. That's not going to go well for him. So maybe at that point he drops out. And you've only gotten through two primaries at this point, Iowa and here, and that's not big numbers. And so at that point, if DeSantis drops out, now you got just Haley against him, and she does really well in South Carolina, which I would imagine she'd do. She's the governor there. Then at that point, if it's just her and Trump, yeah, then I think she has a chance. But I mean, I'm not saying that she has a good chance. I'm just saying she has a chance, and she's the only one in my opinion, who's standing between Trump versus Biden.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah, we kept you from it. So.
Thank you. Haley supporters know it's a complicated path for her. Because it's not just that she's a very distant second or third from Trump. It's that the other candidates still in the race point to her as insufficiently conservative, a tool of the establishment class, and too removed from the new base of the party, brought in by Trump. One person who's been loudly making this argument is Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. When DeSantis first joined the race, he styled himself as the consensus pick, the only candidate who can speak to anti-Trump Republicans and the party's MAGA base. But that hasn't worked out, at least not yet. That's after the break. So then there's Ron DeSantis and his supporters. The Florida governor entered the race with high expectations, but is still searching for a breakout moment. The DeSantis campaign has made a strategic pivot and decided to go all in on Iowa in an attempt to revive his candidacy with a good first result. This Monday, a new poll out of Iowa gave a snapshot of how that's going.
Trump is expanding his lead to a whopping 51% in the state that will vote first next year, 32 points ahead of his closest competitor, Ron DeSantis, who has 19% support.
DeSantis sits in a distant second, miles behind Trump.
Nikki Haley, who had been showing some traction growing over the summer and early fall months, stagnant now at 16%.
And only barely above Haley. Still, some think DeSantis is primed for a late surge. He has the endorsement of key figures, like Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds and Bob Vander Plaats, a prominent evangelical leader in Iowa and head of the conservative group, The Family Leader. Hello, how are you? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. How are you?
I'm doing well. It's good to see you again.
Good to see you as well.
I first talked to Vander Plaats back in June, when he hadn't yet landed on a candidate. So this Monday, the same day those new Iowa numbers came out, I gave Vander Plaats a call. You all have played the primary. The last time we talked, we had a conversation about how you were kind of looking out for alternatives to Trump. You mentioned how you like Governor Ron DeSantis, but in the months since then, you've decided to publicly endorse him. I guess I wanted to start there. Can you tell me how and why you came to that decision?
Well, you know what? I probably was leaning towards Governor DeSantis from early on.
Mm-hmm.
When I watched his reelection in November 2022, the red wave that the entire country was supposed to experience, and Florida actually experienced it. And not only did he win, but he won in a landslide in a toss-up state, won in demographics that we rarely win in. And he won by being a bold and courageous leader who was still digestible, by the general public. And then as he walked through this caucus process as well, I've gotten to know him, got to know his wife, Casey. But it was probably at the Thanksgiving Family Forum is where he had about a 3-minute clip where I asked him, why him? Why not just wait his turn type deal?
Mm-hmm.
And he talked about, the interesting juncture we see our country at right now and why he believes we need a win in 2024 and why he believes Trump presents the highest hurdle. But not only can he win, but he can lead on day one, defending this country versus defending himself, have a team around him that can deliver. And then the real point he made is that he can do this for 2 terms.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a lame duck status on day one.
Mm-hmm. All of that rings really true. But, a big thing that's changed from June to now is that DeSantis has not seen the jumpstart in national support that many expected. And in some ways, he's actually receded from where we were in June. Did any of that give you pause making your endorsement, just the way his kind of national campaign has gone?
Well, I think there's no doubt that it made us, or made me, assess Nikki Haley very closely, as well as the other candidates that were in the race. Tim Scott, when he was in, Mike Pence, when he was in. as well as Vivek Ramaswamy. We assessed all of them. But when you take a look at the amount of dollars that the former president and his associates have put against Ron DeSantis compared to the other candidates, there's no doubt that DeSantis is the target for a reason. He's the one that'd be most likely to win. And I did see that DeSantis, I believe he can win the primary and win the general election. I believe Trump can win the primary, but I have a hard time believing he's going to win the general election. And I just saw Nikki Haley as being one who probably can't win the primary, but probably could win the general election. So DeSantis checked both boxes, where the former president, Nikki Haley, checked one box.
And both boxes being, you think he can win a primary, can win a general election. I guess I want to drill in on the primary question. Part of the reason I was asking that is, do you still think he can win a primary is really what I'm saying.
Well, we've seen things change here before, at least in the Iowa caucuses. And we've always known that Iowa would be ground zero, that if he can win Iowa or come in a really close second in Iowa, I think you have a game on to the nomination. It's still going to be an uphill battle, but I think it's a game on to the nomination. And what I would say in Iowa, I just believe it's a much closer race than what the polls indicate. Now, I can't substantiate where the polls are going wrong. All I can say anecdotally, when I talk to people, I see this as a much closer race. And I honestly think Donald Trump does as well. That's why he's continuing to spend a lot of time here, as well as a lot of money attacking DeSantis here.
The Des Moines Register poll that came out just today shows that 51% of likely Republican caucus goers, for them, Donald Trump is their first choice. That's up from 43% in October. I mean, presumably a significant amount of that support is from evangelicals, the group that your organization has long represented.
You bet.
I mean, is there some disconnect between what we're seeing from the family leader and from you than to what we see from evangelical kind of rake and foul folks who might be preferring Donald Trump a little more?
Well, again, we're going to have to see if that's really the case on January 15. I feel like I have a pretty good pulse on our base. I have a pretty good pulse on the evangelical community. And that's why I do believe there is a disconnect right now between what I'm sensing and what I'm seeing compared to what the polls are indicating. Now, DeSantis did have a slight uptick in that poll as well, not as much as Trump has. But I think the other thing that was interesting about the Des Moines Register poll that was just released today is 46%, I believe, of the poll respondents who indicated a first choice said they were open to be convinced by somebody else. That tells me there's a lot of room within the electorate. Now, it still has to be where someone needs to win over the electorate and coalesce at the same time.
You mentioned former Ambassador Nikki Haley, who really does seem like the kind of other Trump alternative still left in this race. Specifically, you said that part of the reason you didn't feel like you could endorse her was that you didn't think she had an ability to win the primary, even if she could win the general election. Can you be more specific there? What is it about former Ambassador Haley that for you does not add up to someone who can win a Republican nomination?
I think it's just math. And when you take a look at it, she's really in the Mitt Romney lane. And that's a very diminished lane today in the state of Iowa and in the Republican primary. And so I don't see the numbers there.
Does Ron DeSantis have to beat Nikki Haley in Iowa?
Well, I think Ron DeSantis will beat Nikki Haley in Iowa. And I think that's what I also take away from that poll. Nikki Haley has not been able to capture the momentum that she supposedly had. I believe that's Governor DeSantis right now. And that's why I think the more Governor DeSantis makes this a two-person race between Trump and himself, the better off. And I think really the Haley supporters will see that they want an alternative to Trump. Whether they're in love with Ron DeSantis or not, DeSantis is going to be their guy.
I guess a broader question I have is if this coalition doesn't come together, will we look back and say that people like you, frankly, should have coalesced around a single alternative earlier? Like, do you have any nervousness that we're at the end of 2023 and there is still not someone who has emerged as at least in all the objective measures of polling or fundraising or whatever, a serious threat to Donald Trump?
No, that doesn't concern me in regards to I think the coalescing actually happened a little bit quicker than I thought it would.
Okay.
Even with Pence dropping out, Tim Scott dropping out, the way the GOP held their debates and they narrowed the field and they narrowed the debate stage, It's just that you also have the nuance, and it's a serious nuance. A former president is in the Iowa caucuses. That just doesn't happen very often.
What do you think it is about this former president that has caused the support to be sticky? I mean, we've asked this question maybe 100 times. We've asked the supporters themselves. We've traveled to events. I guess for someone like you who's made like a really clear-eyed case for a different version of the Republican Party in a state that has traditionally held that role, and still we're coming to an Iowa caucus where Donald Trump at least enters as a favorite. Like, so what is it about him and that support that's been unresponsive, at least to those messages so far?
I think where the former president has been very good is making this about the people of Iowa, the people of America, saying, listen, when they're weaponizing government after me, they're weaponizing it after you. If they'll do this to me, they'll do it to you. And so I think there's a little bit of we're going to have your back. You did a lot of things for us in your first term. We were thrilled to be behind you and support you. We believe this is unfair. Whether it is, whether it isn't, that's the feeling. And so therefore you have a lot of people saying, I'm just going to back you right now. That said, I believe with 5 weeks to go, I still think a lot of Iowans are still going to look at it very clearly. I can say, but can he win in 2024? Do we need someone that can defend the country versus defend themselves? And do we need someone that can serve 2 terms? And if they land on yes, yes, and yes, I think they choose Ron DeSantis.
I think through this conversation, I can hear your kind of best case scenario, which is that DeSantis either outperforms expectations to be a clear second choice or overtakes Donald Trump in the Iowa caucuses, which leads to, him gaining momentum as we look toward the New Hampshires, Nevadas, and South Carolinas. I guess I kind of want to ask you about the opposite scenario. Like, what happens on January 15th if Donald Trump is the clear and away winner of the Iowa caucuses?
I mean, if he just dominates the Iowa caucuses, I just don't think there's anybody that's going to stop him at that point. And that's why I believe it's up to Iowa to basically say, at least America gets to have a choice. Let's think this through. Let America make a wise decision.
Right. Because if it doesn't get started in Iowa, it doesn't look like it's happening.
No, you're exactly right.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate you as well.
Thank you.
God bless. Thank you.
Vander Plaats won't say it explicitly, but the same qualities that make Haley more appealing to moderate voters, like her stance on abortion or her years of experience in Republican politics, are the things that make her unappealing to many primary voters, and especially some evangelicals who trend more conservative. This makes it even more difficult for an anti-Trump coalition to emerge, even if both campaigns don't want Trump. Because while Haley and DeSantis share a common political enemy, their supporters don't share the same values. Next week, we're back in Iowa. That's the run-up for Thursday, December 14th, 2023. Now, the rundown. This week, there's been a lot of action in Donald Trump's legal cases.
An 11th hour reversal from Donald Trump.
2.5 months after Trump's civil fraud trial began, it's wrapping up.
He canceled his planned testimony today at his civil fraud trial in New York.
And after a turbulent round of testimony in November, Trump decided not to testify a second time.
Trump made the announcement on, where else, social media. He said, I have already testified to everything and have nothing more to say other than this is a complete and total election interference Biden campaign witch hunt.
And
well, former President Trump's 2020 election interference case is headed to the nation's highest court.
For the first time, the Supreme Court is set to weigh in on one of Trump's criminal cases.
Special counsel Jack Smith filed an emergency petition. He is asking the high court to immediately step in to decide whether former President Trump has immunity from prosecution in his 2020 election interference case.
In an unusual move, Smith is trying to bypass an appeals court, which could make it easier for the case to go to trial ahead of next year's election. In a December ruling, rejecting Trump's argument of absolute immunity, a federal judge wrote that the office of president, quote, does not confer a lifelong get-out-of-jail-free pass. There are 4 weeks and 4 days till the Iowa caucuses, and 327 days until the general election. We'll see you next week. The Run-Up is reported by me, Ested Herndon, and produced by Elisa Gutierrez, Caitlin O'Keefe, and Anna Foley. It's edited by Rachel Dry, Lisa Tobin, and Franny Kartoff, with original music by Dan Powell, Marian Lozano, Pat McCusker, Diane Wong, and Elishaba Itu. It was mixed by Sophia Landman and fact-checked by Caitlin Love. Special thanks to Paula Schumann, Sam Dolnick, Larissa Anderson, David Haufinger, Mahima Chablani, Renan Borelli, Jeffrey Miranda, and Maddie Masiello. If you have questions about the 2024 election, we're working on a new Q&A segment, and we want to hear from you. Email us at therunup@nytimes.com. And finally, if you like the show and want to get updates on our latest episodes, follow our feed wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks so much for listening, y'all.